Precision, Dell's professional workstation lineup of computers. Tons of expandability, power, and weight. Just look at this. It's a chunky steel case inside a chunky plastic case, bending under its own weight. Tons of RAM, dual Xeon CPUs. This is my Dell Precision 670. Released in 2005, this thing is now 20 years old. The NetBurst architecture Pentium 4 Xeons clocked at 3.4 GHz and no match for even today's budget laptops due to their complicated architecture. The 4 GB of DDR2 RAM may be inadequate for today's workloads and operating systems, but it is perfectly at home on Windows XP. You really thought I was going to play the Windows XP startup sound along with some pretentious remark along the lines of nostalgia, weren't you? Yes, this is my Windows XP system, and it's quite a good one at that, if you ignore the noise from those fans that can draw over 50 watts altogether. But you'll need a decent amount of cooling to keep the processors, each drawing 103 watts at a comfortable temperature. Paired with a GeForce 8600 GTS, this thing is great at handling early 2000s games, which is what I use it for. I mean, what else can you really do on a computer like this? Write a resume? Well, yes, I'm also using it for that, but I'm really just using this piece of was-to-be landfill as a time capsule of early 2000s games and software. Render some Y2K backgrounds in Bryce 3D, pretend to make some music in Fruity Loops 3, fail to laugh at Bonzi Buddy's terrible dad jokes.
Does the IRS know that you're changing your name again? I guess I'll still call you my name.
And play Five Nights at Freddy. Wait, that isn't quite the time frame I was going for, but it does run. It's just a shame this PC isn't beige, or has any translucent plastic highlights. Although the Precision was going for more of the toned down professional look. There's a silver trim ring around the power button that kind of makes this tower look like a one-eyed alien, and there's subtle patterning on the front plate here, spelling out precision under the right angle of light. But it's nothing compared to the gaudy Dell XPS of the same generation, with a polished shield-like facade and, God forbid, blue LEDs. The bane of every flashy 2000s product. I mean, the successor pulled it off in my opinion. At least we have some blue plastic on this terribly yellowed mouse, and try to ignore the color inconsistencies on these plastic Plastech speakers. They sound good enough for computer use. After all, if I wanted to listen to music, I'll use the Maxims. And a 12-inch subwoofer. To finish the setup, I've got this grey Microsoft keyboard. I have an identical beige one in storage, but if I use that, then the Dell would look too out of place. Also, there's this beautifully crunchy and horrid camera that doubles as a webcam. And of course, this Samsung Samtron 78E CRT monitor running at 1024 by 768 at 90 Hz. I'd like something bigger, but hey, it's good for a free monitor, and it's not like I have much space anyway on this tiny desk in the corner. So yeah, GTA 3, Vice City and San Andreas run too well on this system, causing various physics glitches. I'm now sort of used to playing them capped at 30 FPS, but I think there's some patch to make the game run properly at high frame rates. I'm pretty sure it's called Frame Rate Vigilante. One of my favorite old franchises, Flat Out, also runs well here. Enjoy flying out of the front windshield of your car whilst it explodes, all with compressed, overly energetic 2000s rock music playing in the background. This old version of Gary's mod also plays smoothly. I was also able to install some mods. I would use my actual Steam copy, but I couldn't find a Steam patch that works anymore, so oh well. I'm also discovering new to me games like Mafia, Bully, and the likes. There's just something about old rendering engines in these games that just looks right. Like, if you were to make a game nowadays with the same low poly assets, it would just look like a shitty Unity asset flip mobile game. Or maybe it just looks at home under the lens of my phosphor dot glasses. Technology has come a long way in 20 or so years, so even with a multi-$1,000 machine back in the day, good luck watching a YouTube video smoothly on it. Maybe you can get by if you close everything else that is running on your system. HD multimedia on PC just wasn't quite there yet. Yeah, we take multitasking for granted these days, playing graphically intensive games whilst we've got YouTube, Reddit, music player and Discord all running smoothly at the same time. But to be fair, the web has gotten harder to run, and 4GB of RAM won't get you very far in terms of tabbage. But it's about what was adequate back then, and multitasking on old software is a breeze. Can we take some time to just appreciate old UI design, graphic design, and just design in general? Everything is so ugly, so outrageous, so dated and cheesy. But it's creative, it's experimental, and it's visually stimulating with all the flashy pre-rendered graphics that would make one modern web designer puke and make another get fired for leaning into it. I personally love it. I wouldn't even say it's nostalgic to me. The earliest operating system I remember using was Windows Vista. Frigate error. On my mum's laptop. This laptop. Maybe I do fondly remember the skeuomorphic design of the VSTs my dad would use when making music, such as Guitar Rig, but I'm talking in a current perspective. I just love how quirky these old designs are. It's not thinking outside of the box. It's turning the box into some weird plaque shape that kinda resembles a jellyfish made out of grimace shake. Anyways, back to the PC itself. I was incredibly lucky to find this. Like I do with all my things, I found this on the curbside. I mean, for anyone who wants a computer to do modern day tasks, I'll reinstate, this thing is useless. And as soon as I picked it up and broke my back getting it home, I knew this was going to be the XP gaming PC. Forget AMD Athlons that don't have SSE2 support. Forget lousy single CPU Pentium 4 machines, like the popular Optiplexes that came below this. And forget overheating, unreliable laptops of the era, also with a hyper-threaded desktop Pentium 4 jammed inside. So I tried to upgrade the RAM to its supposed maximum 16GB, try to split that between the 6 DIMM slots it has. I think some of the sticks have to be different sizes, but due to confusion, I bought fully buffered memory, which has a different key, so I can't use it in this system. Also, if you want to use extra RAM in this system, you need to get this special fan and shroud, which is really rare and expensive, so forget it. But hey, who needs 64-bit? 32-bit is adequate for what I'm using it for. Also, I swapped out the non-existent hard drive inside for a 128GB SSD and a 1TB hard drive, which is a sweet spot for speed and storage size. On the front here below the power button, there used to be a cover to make it look just a little less ugly, but the plastic is so brittle it just fell off. It reveals standard for the time I/O, as well as the 4 activity or diagnostic lights that are also found on my now broken Precision T5500. Under this surviving cover that sometimes opens and shuts smoothly and sometimes doesn't, we have, I don't know, random disk drives that I threw in here for whatever reason. The original ones work fine. I mean, these two might be the originals, but I don't know what this beige one is doing here. I think I was experimenting with using the analog audio output on the back of the disk drive to play music through the computer without running any music player software. Not that you need to on this system, but not too long before, playing MP3s used a lot of CPU power. It was that or MIDI, which instead just synthesizes the music in real time on the sound card using a digital piano roll. But MIDIs have their own charm, so I have a ton of them on here, as well as a ton of sound fonts. Sound fonts just change the sounds a synthesizer makes. Here, now this MIDI sounds like it is being played out of a Nokia flip phone, except flip phones don't have obnoxiously loud fans. Yeah, the fans are quite the headache. It's not a whooshing noise per se, but a groaning, droning sound that erratically changes pitch every once in a while. Not to mention, they aren't even spinning up that much. This is just a fraction of their power. Loading up one of my favorite useless yet useful computer utilities, SpeedFan, I can make them spin up to full speed. I have no idea why they added such powerful fans to this computer. Maybe they're made to run 24/7 at full load in a poorly ventilated server room in Australia. Another design quirk is the power supply, which is literally the entire base of this PC. Even a segment of the front plastic panel is attached to the power supply. With the technology of today, you'd think that this thing is at least 1000 watts. But no, this power supply is 650 watts. To be fair, I'm happy with how the system handles now. But if I were to upgrade to say a beefier 2000s GPU, I might need to look for a drive bay power supply, as good luck finding a replacement for this proprietary brick of metal. This isn't the original GPU. It originally came with a Quadro 3450, but I wanted to use it in conjunction with a VCR to record videos from the computer onto tape, to create an authentic analog effect. Maybe I'll do a video about that in the future. And to do that, I need some sort of consumer TV output. And despite what everyone online says, this is not an S-video output. At first glance it looks like one, but this is actually a special port for 3D stereo imagery. Something, while interesting, wasn't exactly something I was going to use. I also have a TV capture card installed so I can get the footage off the VCR and back onto my hard drive. I'll definitely put that 1TB to good use. Uncompressed AVI files are no joke, and its successes we take for granted weren't really wait a second. Well, at least in Premiere Pro CS2 I have to export things in either doo-doo 2007 YouTube quality or use up my entire disk space. But yeah, that's my Dell Precision 670. From expensive workhorse to an over-glorified retro gaming console. So, do you have any experience with these computers? Maybe you used one back in the day as part of your job. Maybe the hissing power supply finally gave out and burnt your house down. Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and remember, one like equals one prayer for Mr. Dell Precision. Can this thing actually shut up? Like, for real, for real?